Well, the rand is still sluggish this morning after weakening the most since August in the previous session. The JSE is tracked to weaker global markets as investors considered the possibility of a further delay in U.S. interest rate cuts. For more on these and other market-moving stories, we're joined by Bianca Botes, the Executive Director at Citadel Global. Bianca, good morning. So the rand goes from rally to flat this week. Give us an overview of some of the factors that drove the rand's moves and where it's sitting right now.
Good morning to you and the viewers at home. Yes, at the beginning of the week, we really saw the rand gain some decent ground, driven mostly by higher gold prices, upticks in industrial commodity prices, and a hawkish Reserve Bank. However, US CPI data that was released on Wednesday came out much higher than expected, dashing hopes of interest rate cuts by the Fed in June and sending the rand weaker on the back of a stronger dollar.
Well, let's talk about oil then and gold. Oil rising amid the tension in the Middle East, gold hitting record highs. There seems to be an appetite now for safe havens. Talk us through those two.
It's quite an interesting move in the gold price. While we are seeing a demand for safe haven assets, we are still in a high interest rate environment, and there is an opportunity cost attached to holding gold instead of, let's say, interest-bearing securities in other safe haven environments. However, the gold price continued to trade at record highs as investors do actually seek that safe haven investment of gold in an environment where we are expecting that interest rates will eventually start to decrease. In addition, China also bolstered the gold price by adding about 160,000 troy ounces of gold to its reserves in March, really bolstering the demand for gold in that regard. Oil prices, as you mentioned, has been largely driven by ongoing conflict in the Middle East, with fears of potential escalation adding to that price escalation. We've also seen significant amounts of supply cuts driven by OPEC, and that has also assisted the oil price to maintain its momentum.
Yeah, and we understand gold price is still likely to be golden over the next 8 weeks. No one really talks about silver, but silver hit its highest level since February 2021. Let's go to this one. And this week, South Africa's forex reserves reached 3-month highs. Talk us through the data and its significance, Bianca.
It's definitely a positive sign in the country's economy as it provides a buffer against external shocks, and it demonstrates that the central bank has the ability to intervene in the foreign exchange market to stabilize the country's currency as and when needed. However, these reserves always need to be managed carefully to ensure long-term economic stability. So this uptick in reserves is really a positive sign for South Africa. The South African reserves increased to $62.32 billion in March, and that is up from $61.65 billion the previous month. This also marks the largest foreign exchange reserves since December 2023.
Well, mining production beating estimates with an increase of nearly 10% year-on-year in February. Let's talk about those numbers and the clues it gives about the current state of our economy.
I think it's a really interesting reading, while it does speak to the South African economy, it also speaks to the global manufacturing environment. Global manufacturing accelerated its fastest pace since June 2022, and that really helped the outlook and demand prospects for industrial metals. This positive reading that we saw on mining output in South Africa is largely attributed to an increase of 43% in iron ore output. So that really talks to that better prospect for industrial metals. But it's also a positive reading that we can attribute to less disruptive load shedding. And it really puts South Africa on a better economic trajectory and path moving forward, with load shedding becoming less and less.
Bianca Botes, as always, thank you very much for talking to us and for making sense of what's happening in the economy. Look forward to chatting to you again soon.